Please direct your eyes to the Phoenix, spraying some water out over the bay. Just a quick note, the 5:30 to Nebulon is now canceled. For those of you wishing to change rocket ships, please talk to Spock, our customer service agent. He will be more than happy to take your concerns. We have another rocket ship on the way, but this one here is ready to take off any minute now. We have a couple of speakers here today. The first one is Ann Lazarus from the port. Public art like this is not done without partnerships. And the partnership that we've struck with the Port of San Francisco to turn this space into an art space has been spectacular. Thank you, Port of San Francisco. Ann is here representing the whole commission and some staff. So Ann, if you wanted to come up and say a few words, that would be great. Our boarding dock is right here.
Well, thank you all for being here today. I'd like to thank Mike for wearing his seersucker suit, so we were sure to get some sunshine today. I'm assuming there's a cause and effect there. It takes a village to accomplish something like this, just as with everything else in life. And as Mike said, this has the complete, wholehearted endorsement of the Port Commission, all of us, of our staff, led by Monique Moyer, our planning staff, Dan Hodap and Phil Williamson, even all the way across to our maintenance staff, led by Tom Carter. And I just want to say in closing and thanking everyone who says we don't have ships down at this waterfront. Thank you.
I also want to take the opportunity to thank BCDC, who helped us early on getting a 2-year permit to do this space. When I spoke at the commission about this, I basically told people that the cost of putting up public art like this up for a period of year cost the city agency about the cost of a billboard for 1 month right in San Francisco. And they have a greater ability to create community and space here in San Francisco. And it's been a fabulous addition to the Port of San Francisco. People will come and talk about this rocket ship forever. The next person we have is our district supervisor, David Chiu. When David first came to the Board of Supervisors, he had a conversation with the director, the cultural affairs director for the city and county of San Francisco, and he made art in San Francisco a priority. He wanted to make sure the money that we were spending on arts in San Francisco was spent on artists from the Bay Area. It was very important to him that this happened. And as many of you may or may not know, San Franciscans, this is one of the cities with the most artists per capita in the United States. We spend more money, our government agencies spend more money on arts than any other city in the country per capita. And the foundations that work in San Francisco spend more as a percentage of their money on arts in San Francisco. So for them, we're all grateful, and we're going to talk a little bit about them. Without further ado, Supervisor David Chiu.
Hello, fellow travelers. I go to a lot of events every day, and I have to say, this is the event that I was looking forward to all week. Anyone feel that way? Happy Friday, by the way, TGIF. I'm going to say a couple things that elected officials probably shouldn't. When I was a kid, one of my favorite pastimes was to launch off bottle rockets. Anyone ever do that here? And if I had gotten some better grades in physics, I might be helping to build these things as opposed to majoring in political science and actually becoming a politician. But, at the end of the day, this is part of what is so special about San Francisco. And one other thing I'm going to say that I probably shouldn't say as a politician, I have never gone to Burning Man. But I think it might be about time. I want to thank all of you who are part of this amazing community that has helped to move forward not just the arts community, but really improve upon community collaboration, improve upon how we think about living together as San Franciscans, as Californians, as citizens of the universe. I think the last thing I want to say is, as someone who represents much of the waterfront here, this is obviously what I hope is just one of a number of amazing installations that I know that the local artist community is so incredibly capable of developing. And I look forward to future installations like this so that we can make sure that our art remains not just burned in our minds, but burned in the minds of everyone throughout the world and throughout the universe. Congratulations. Thank you.
So, this fabulous relationship that the city and county of San Francisco has with BRAF started at about 2005. And we had some very creative projects that have happened since then. And it all started with the executive director, then Leslie Pritchett, coming into the mayor's office and saying, we want to do more public art. We want to put public art on the streets in the community of San Francisco, and we want to start trying to build a community. And then it changed to Melissa. Is Melissa here? Yes? Where are you? And then she carried it over, and we had more projects, and we kept coming back. And then it started to go national, right? It started happening in Detroit and Reno and different places that BRAF does projects. And if you want this to continue, you have to go to BRAF and give. It doesn't happen without your support and supporting your community. I know we all do it in different ways, but you have to try and find a way to do more for BRAF so that stuff like this can continue to happen. With that, I'm going to give you Tomas, who's going to talk a little bit about the project and the people who were responsible for it. Tomas, you want to come on up?
Well, he just said everything I was going to say. Except, when we saw this ship on the playa last year, I don't know how many of you were there. And Friday night, when the incredible thing happened that nobody thought could happen, this rocket actually launched off Black Rock City Playa. And as it was out there, I had a feeling that it would probably land right here. Thank you all for coming out. I do need to thank a number of people that made this possible. The supporters, Chad, Andrea Lester, Paul and April, Bookheit, Rachel and Lauren Carpenter, Doug and Kolb Engineers, Leslie Pritchett. Thank you all so much. And also to Alex Rosenthal, who pulled together this event and brought in the gastronauts, the phenomenauts, the space cowboys. Thank you. Have a good time.
One of the great things about this art and the other art from the desert that has come to San Francisco is to see how much the art changes when it's in a different environment, and how our perception of where we're at in our space and how this has changed, how it'll change the port. It's really interesting looking at the perspective here, the stark desert, and just that sticking up, and now surrounded by other buildings in the water. It's just, it's a really great day. I do want to bring up now Sean Orlando, who is representing the artists. It's so great to have him here. You know, he represents a team of many people, and I'm sure he's going to talk a lot about those people. But it's so great to see many times artists have communities that follow them after, but oftentimes you don't have artists where community is the process. So, Sean, you want to come up and talk to us a little bit about your piece?
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. This is really incredible. Thank you to the Port of San Francisco for clearing the airspace to allow us to crash land on Pier 14 here. It's really quite an honor. This has been an incredible experience for us, working with BRAF and Leslie Pritchett and the Port and the city to allow us to place this amazing work of art that was designed and built as a group project in a collaborative manner by artists and engineers and programmers from all around the Bay Area, and I'm really proud to work with every one of them. It's incredible that, even more so, that this is the first ever rocket stop in the United States. Virgin Galactic, you have nothing on us. One of the new elements that we've added to the rocket ship, which you'll notice in the background, is the rocket stop. It's our Intergalactic Bay Area Rocket Transport, or IBART. So thank you all for coming out. We've got the phenomenauts coming on in a little bit. We've got the Space Cowboys. There's Gashnaut and all their amazing food. And thank you to all the crew that worked on this, 5-ton crane, all the RGR crew, and all the volunteers.
I want to go over a couple things. First off, BRAF has a table over there, so if you can, please stop by that table and get more information about what BRAF is doing in San Francisco and across the country, really, and get some and try and dedicate a little bit of your time, money, and cash to try and help them succeed in putting art like this together. Here's the reason why. If any of you have a chance, Leslie wrote a piece about why flock matters. And Flock was a piece we put up in City Hall a little bit while ago, I guess 3 or 4 years ago. And basically it said that public art is art that you own. Nobody can tell you what to think about it. There's no one saying this is how you should feel or this is what you should believe is possible with this art. It's art that any opinion matters. One of the highlights for me with Flock was when 35 grammar school kids came up and tried to tell different people what they thought that was. And it was so fascinating. And with each piece, there's a different story and a different tale that the community is telling. With David Best's piece that went in Hayes Green, some guy said, yeah, thank you very much, David, for that piece. Some guy came up and said, definitively, without a doubt, this is a birdhouse. Right, and everybody in the community, you saw an argument start between two different people in the community about a debate about what it was. And another thing, that art there that was created there has created another art space, right? Now that space is dedicated to art. Out of that installation came the Hayes Valley Art Coalition. They've continued to put up piece after piece and are committed to continuing to bring artists into that space to show their work here in San Francisco. Which is really great. I'm trying to string a little bit of time out here before I introduce the mayor of San Francisco, and I'm trying to get an indication about how far out he is. Any indication? I don't know any fake jokes, but we do have somebody that wanted to do some poetry. Where was the poetry?
No poetry, and no jokes, but what many of you may not know is that we built this rocket ship in 1944. And we launched it in 1944. We got lost, and so throughout our travels, we've been traveling through space and time, picking up passengers, dropping them off, upgrading our rocket ship, collecting specimens and aliens, and some of the specimens and aliens are actually amongst you. We landed in San Francisco because we thought you wouldn't notice them as much. But the problem is that the customs agent approached me, and you all forgot your cards, your ID cards. So if the aliens, if you could please come here and collect your cards, because you'll get stopped. There's one. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See, they just blend right in, don't they? Get her! Thank you.
Great, here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of San Francisco.
Yeah, what took him so long? Well, thank you all for coming out. So I just do with a launch countdown, 5, 4, we'll get it done. I just wanted to thank all of you very much for being willing to once again allow the city to try new things. You know, it wasn't that many years ago that we couldn't put a peace sign up in the Panhandle, we couldn't put a spider on top of City Hall, and we couldn't even put a giant foot down at the Embarcadero. Folks in San Francisco, for all our progressive politics and for all our aggressive policies, there's just something about public art where we're not always as progressive as we should be. And I made the distinction, public art. There's something about putting something on the streets and sidewalks that's incredibly personal to San Franciscans and as a consequence, incredibly controversial. But when I came into office, one of my firm commitments was to break the rules. And I say that in a loving way. That the idea was that if we couldn't win by the current rules of the game, we either had to challenge those rules or change those rules. And so what we did is we tried to reinvent our focus on public art by finding a loophole. And this was the loophole: temporary public art. And that, folks, has been the big differentiator. we went in and we said, oh, don't worry. No, it won't be here for a year or 2 years. Just be here for 30 days, 60 days, 90. Was it a year ago that it was only, I thought it was just 60 days ago. And the point was, once people got used to it, in fact, we found the spider right here, Louise Bourgeois. She was here, and people started saying, what is that? And then a week, 2 months, and then people said, well, why are you taking it away? And that's been the narrative in partnership with the Black Rocks Arts Foundation and all those incredible artists that you guys represent, and all those artists that are here that are represented in this extraordinary piece. You know, we've done now 20 significant public arts installations in this city in the last couple of years. That's pretty good. Those are significant. There are thousands of others significant, but at a smaller level, pieces that have gone in. We did the Arts in the Storefront. People thought we were crazy. And now that Arts in the Storefront has been replicated and modeled all across the country. You know, we had a budget with $500 million deficit, and they thought we were crazy when we said there are not going to be any cuts to arts programs and arts investment in the city. But we were able to do that as well. So we're moving in a different direction. And I'll just end by saying, I think an exciting direction. I think we've raised the bar once again in San Francisco. The bar was always high in our city with our 40 years of our neighborhood's arts program and all that contribution that all of you make with the set aside on every new public project. But this is one of my favorites, and that's really what I was coming here to say. I think this is just incredible. This is going to get a lot of attention appropriately and deservingly, and you know, it's a good attention. You got the Oldenburg right there. You got the new span on the eastern side of the bridge that's being done. You've got the most environmentally friendly development in the history of this country that will happen next year out on Treasure Island. You've got a revitalized waterfront that slowly is evolving. Organic produce, organic farming, our values being advanced here every single week at the farmers market. A lot to be proud of, a lot to be thankful of. And so just in that stead and that spirit, great job. Keep up the great work, and I'm a proud San Franciscan today. Thank you all very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the Phenomenauts will be here shortly. They're still trying to land. They're delayed a little bit of fog coming in off of the rocket ship they were on, so it should be just a couple of minutes. So, great when we hear from the Phenomenauts. Thank you very much.